slight delay. Here to hang out again for Barebow stuff. I am gonna cut off my center serving and reserve my string here because I really need to make some adjustments. I did a bit of shooting today, shooting Barebow, and was trying to tune it, and then shot a 30 arrow round. I did it on camera, so you guys will be able to see that in a few days once I get the editing done, get it up. Sorry, I bumped the microphone. Oh wait. Audio gain. There we go. You guys should probably hear me now. Let's see. So hopefully you can hear me now. Give me a thumbs up, whatever, if you can hear me. Sorry about that. Thanks for waiting, everybody, for the slight delay. I am working on playing with some stuff here on my Barebow, reserving my center serving and retying knocking points because I actually shot a bit on camera today and did some some tuning at 20 yards in prep for states. And then I shot 30 arrows on camera for a bit of a I don't know, just to go for it. Why not? Shoot 30 arrows on camera. And I learned a little bit, actually. So I am working on changing my center serving arrangement as well as my knocking points. They were moving a bit on me, so I am going to redo that. So sorry about that, Rick. Yeah, it's there's a lot of moving parts when these feeds and a lot of places to post the links. So if anybody is publicly subscribed to this channel or subscribed to this channel and have notifications turned on, you'll get emails saying I am live. Also, if you have the app on your phone or iPad or whatever, it'll ding and tell you, hey, Jay Kaminski's live. So it is a bit of a benefit to being publicly subscribed, or not publicly, but being subscribed to and have the notifications turned on for this channel. So Maverick, you're gross. Lano. I am going to be using this ATFX. The Gilo is actually not my riser. The Gilo is actually Ryan's riser. And I'm done with the testing on that, so I'll be sending it back to him. But I will be doing, shooting indoor states here with this ATFX and these MXT limbs that I've got sitting in my lap, in addition to this cat Maverick here. Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's an attention, needy attention guy. We're just gonna hang out, and if you have questions, throw them at me. Happy to do that. And meanwhile, I'm gonna be playing with center serving. In a nutshell, the reason that I am going to be changing my center serving. Hold on, I'm gonna move the mic real quick. So the reason I'm changing my center serving is because I'm using Halo here. BCY Halo as the center serving. Super good for recurve archery because it's super slick and it comes off your tab really, really clean and really, really easy. But I noticed a little bit that when I go from set to setup, my first initial lift is with my string hand, just a tiny little bit until the bow starts moving, and then I follow it up with the bow hand momentum. And what I really found was that I think my tab was slipping up just a tiny little bit on the lift. And I don't feel confident that my crawls were as inaccurate as what my impacts were showing on the target. And I found that if I really just lifted with my bow hand, because I was setting my grip sear and my hand tension, I had to actually grab the bow and pick it up a little bit or add a little bit of preload at brace height. And I found that was just a bit of it just interrupted my shot cycle too much. So I'm going to switch from Halo to Power Grip. So I've got some BCY Power Grip. I don't know what size it is, or I don't know what size I have on this. I think I might have like 18 on this 20 strand string, but the Power Grip I think that I've got is like it's 18 or 19 or something like that. So we'll see if it works. I'm sure I can make it work for large groove knocks and get it set up right. So I found that was happening. Plus I have movable knocking points on this string itself. And I found the bottom knocking point was actually walking its way down the string as I was shooting more. And that actually affected my tune oddly enough. I'm not entirely sure why, because the, I think it's because as you string walk, the knock, kind of cocks down because the string does this, and then the knock was pushing the lower knocking point down and slightly bumping down every time. And I found my tune was changing. I found I was constantly crawling down deeper because the knocks were slightly falling down the string. Brian, 20 strands of 652, which is Fast Flight, the original Fast Flight, was same size as 8125. But so I was chasing that the whole time. And to answer Mark there, he's got a question. What am I scoring on an indoor round? Actually shot my very first score on an indoor round, not on a regulation face. It was on the Aeromat faces that are basically like a, I don't know what it's like a mouse pad basically. And so they're not really regulation size. Mine's smaller than the one my wife is shooting on, and hers is actually a little oblong and stretched vertically. So it's not like regulation, but I shot a 260 today. Not smoking, but again, same thing. I just kept chasing down the crawl. So on the Yoast tab, I was first started about 2.5 notches up from the bottom on the Yoast. And then I adjusted my knocking point because it was a little too low. The bear shafts were hitting like 7 ring high, 8 ring high. So I adjusted the knocking point and then had to crawl up on the tab just a little bit more than that, maybe 2.6 marks on the Yoast tab. And then by the end of the video, I was right in the middle of the 2.5 mark area again. And I was always like, every time I missed the gold, it was an 8 high or a 7 high. So it just constantly kept crawling up on me, and I kept crawling down on the tab to compensate. So I think that's what I'm going to do is to help eliminate part of that. Obviously, tie on permanent knocking points now that I know exactly where I want it to be, and put some power grip on instead of halo to solve that issue too. So anytime anybody has any questions, just throw it out there. I'm happy to answer and then bring it back to what I was just rambling on about. But Lano, hopefully that's the way you pronounce it. I would say if I had shot 100 to 200 arrows a week, you'd probably replace strings maybe once a year, probably, give or take. Center serving might be more often than that, especially if you buzz your arm guard a lot or use a regular bow stand. But other than that, yeah. Where is everybody tuning in from? I see we got some from Canada and Sweden, Ontario. Obviously, that's also Canada. I know there's probably a bunch of people from the US. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to measure my knocking point while I'm at it, because I need to do that over again for sure. And I'm actually, because I have this sniper drop away on still, I'm going to measure my knocking point from the top of the plunger button. So this is a little tip, guys. If you measure off the top of the plunger, it doesn't matter where your rest is at all, ever. You'll always have your knocking points in the same place, because I tune my rest up and down slightly to, compensate, so I don't have to retie knocking points on when my, my knocking point's off a little bit. So I like to use the top of the plunger. So that's what I'll do. On Kroshatnik, I would say it's a very difficult question to answer as far as how many arrows a string can take. I mean, when I shot 1,600 to 1,800 arrows a week, I would replace my string maybe once every 6 to 8 months, give or take. So it can take a lot of shots. Perinda, I been working on the nail click on the grip as a sear. That's going really well. Although I'm kind of struggling a little bit with the combination of a few things: the grip edge, the length of my fingernail, and where on the finger I'm clicking from. If I'm clicking on the edge of the fingertip towards the tip of my finger, all those things are slightly different, and it changes it slightly different. Carlos, yeah, I found the Gilo GT really relatively easy to tune. Aligning the limbs was a bear. That wasn't very fun. I prefer to really lock down my limb alignment system because they do move over time if you're not really aggressive with the tightness of them. So I found that to be a bit of a bear. Yeah. Crazy Mods, I've been shooting since I've been 6 years old. That was the day of my 6th birthday was my first arrow, and I'm 32 now. So I shot compound for 6 years, switched to recurve, and never really stopped shooting recurve since then. So I got a question for everybody. We'll reverse the roles here. I have 2 questions. Yes, Mark, I'm still shooting the sniper. Is this weight legal for barebow? So these are stackable weights. Are stackable weights legal for barebow? The only reason I'm asking is because the rules say the weight must mount directly to the riser, because they're trying to prevent you from using a dampener in between the weight and the riser, right? But according to the way I read the rules, this weight is not attached directly to the bow because it's attached to the next weight and the next weight and so on. So I'm worried that this may not be legal for competition because it's not one piece. Do you have to have a one-piece weight in order to be legal for World Archery Barebow? And, you know, I see that they've done some clarifications where they have like a bridge between these 2 plates, you know, these 2 mounting points, and then they have the individual weights that they can stack on either side of the riser. And they're not necessarily stackable, but they're not directly mounted to the riser themselves. So is it legal to use a stackable weight system in the barebow class or not? And then my other question is, how far of a gap do you allow between your knocking points to allow for the string angle when you are crawling? Because, you know, when I shot Olympic style recurve, I had 0 gap, no play at all, and it worked great. But with string crawling, I'm afraid that it will be so tight that the nocks will eventually pop off the string, and I don't want to dry fire my bow. So that's what I'm hoping for. So Mark answered my question. He says that they are legal. They just have to pass through the ring. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully I'm still here because it seems like Rick is having an issue not getting me. Is everybody still reading me live? Hopefully. Yesterday during the live, the chat was delayed by like 15, 20 minutes. It was ridiculous. I don't know why. Could have been my upload speed or I don't know what. All right, cool. So people could still hear me. So the stackable barebow weights are legal. About knocking point gaps. Is there a general rule of thumb that people have found for barebow when they're string walking or doing 3 under to give a gap? Okay, cool. Everybody had to refresh. Excellent. Let's see. I'm going to check my speed, make sure that we're uploading at a decent rate. It's not very fast at all. It's pretty slow. I'm literally tethered to a cell phone. So, you know, that's never helping. I'm going to plug it in. That should upload the speed a little bit better. Try to get a bit better quality. Unfortunately, I'm super limited. Yeah. Just because of where I live. So you've seen stackable weights in competitions. Excellent. So people do run stacked weights. All right, great. So that alleviates a lot of problems because I was worried I'd have it'd be one piece, and I don't want to ruin the weights. So let's see. I'm trying to follow all the comments here. So no gap for you. Your error gets worse. So ArgPod, what kind of nocks are you using then? Are you using biters or just standard nocks? Thanks, Mark. I'm glad. So you got a 5/16 gap between the nocks, or is it 5/16 your knocking point above center? Because I've definitely noticed that if I have too big of a gap, the vertical error is definitely way worse. That's for sure. Okay, so you're using the biters. All right. So yeah, no gap would definitely make sense on the biters. And, you know, I love biter nocks, and I really want biter nocks. Okay, thanks, Mark. So what nocks are you using, Mark? For the biter nocks, I want to use them on the Barebow because I like the asymmetrical design for the reason of string crawling. But the points on them are just so sharp, and the nock already touches my nose, especially here at 18, and I just don't want to have to deal with that. You know, it's really like a regular standard nock stabs me in the nose relatively hard enough. So yeah. Okay, so those are the okay, yeah, cool. The Hoyt Arcos, I haven't had it in my hands yet. Which one's the Hoyt Arcos? Is that the midline rise? I honestly need to look at more of the equipment these days. But I'm not sure on it yet. I've got a bunch of Hoyt stuff sitting in my office, and I'm looking at reviewing some of that stuff, and I have more coming, so I get to play with all that stuff. Jay Partolo, Olympic style. I mean, this is supposed to be about Barebow. It's all good, but ACEs are a little bit more sensitive to FOC. You got to pay attention to that, otherwise they won't shoot well. They're a good arrow and a great upper mid-level arrow, high mid-level arrow, I guess. But yeah, be careful, just with the FOC specifically. Yeah, like I said, I think the asymmetrical would be good. Yeah. Okay, cool. So the people who run their nocking points where they're both touching the arrow and there is no gap and no play, have you ever had the arrow pop off ever at full draw? Because I'm worried about that coming off on me. Carlos, no, I have not tried the sniper tab. Hey, Matt from the push. Thanks for joining in. So yeah, to catch everybody up. Also, I'd really appreciate it if everybody would share this feed on your social media channels or Facebook groups or anything like that you belong to. I don't have and use social media outside of YouTube and just posting on my Facebook page just to get the word out, the professional page. Otherwise, I don't use social media anymore, and that definitely holds me back a little bit as far as exposure goes. But personally, I like it much better. So if you wouldn't mind helping me out and sharing wherever you belong to, I'd really appreciate that. Okay, cool. So people haven't had much of a problem popping off stuff, it looks like. So yeah, that's good. Excellent. Yeah, I had one nock pop off the string once. That wasn't very pretty. It was a little scary. My wife jumped a bit, and I got a bit gun shy for a few days after that. And this riser's been creaking since the dry fire, unfortunately. All right. So I'm going to measure where my nocking point is now off the tip of my plunger, the top of my plunger, because it's a little bit easier for me to use as a solid reference point because I am still using the sniper drop away, and I just don't want to have to battle that dropping all the time. Interesting, Ryan. That's a great idea, actually. Yeah. What is the sympathy sear there, Roy? All right. From here, I'm about a 16th above 0. When my nocking point or my arrow rest is up and I'm going off the sniper itself, my nocking point right now, let's see here. I'm trying to get a really good reading for you guys. Looks like it's about pretty much right at a quarter, maybe 5/16 of an inch above center, give or take. Let's see, tight nocking point standard, 245 knock. Cool, so people don't feel it pop off. Well, then looks like I'm just going to go for the tight nocking points then because I'm tired of seeing this issue going around that I'm dealing with. It's just a pain in the butt. So today, long story short, I am getting rid of this halo center serving. It's too slick. I find my crawl being inconsistent. So switching to poly grip and then tying on some permanent knocking points because I did a bit of tuning. So I'm looking to solve all that, all the issues that I was seeing today shooting 20 yards. Sympathetic sear system is theoretical in nature right now, but you're experimenting a grip sear and a tab sear geometries. I see. Well, that sounds cool. I'm all for that. That would be lovely. That's cool. It's like right now, off the top of my plunger to the center of my knocking point split is right on 0. That's kind of cool. So I'm about 16th above, 16th below center, or below 0. Sounds good to me. I'm going to write it down because I am going to forget. Cool. I'm glad, Irish Bowman. I'm glad that you can learn from my videos for instinctive. That's excellent. I'm glad to hear that. I'm also going to mark my string material with where my serving should start and end. Yeah, I saw that the Sniper tab has got this like little metal thing that you can basically adjust your crawls individually based on where you snap them or set them into the tab. I like the idea. It's kind of neat. I'm going to play with some other stuff that I've got in my head and play with my 3D printer and print up some prototypes. And then eventually I'll be calling up a good company friend of mine and coming out with some Barebow tabs, not under my name, but under their name. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully that'll turn out really well. And then revamp some other stuff that's out there. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah, Leon, I could do that. I already dry fired the bow once, to be honest, popping the string off or the knock off the string. I mean, the knock was cracked to begin with. Yes, Ryan, AAE. And the knock was cracked where it pushes onto the pin, not where the actual ears were. And, you know, it was one of the first few times that the knock was touching my nose while at full draw. So I'm worried that I pushed it off of the string with my nose. I don't know. Mark, I haven't shot small diameter arrows out of my Barebow yet. The smallest diameter were these Carbon Express Recurve RZs. Right? Is that what there are? Recurve RZs, the Maximas. Eventually I'll play with the smaller stuff. A long time ago when I was considering switching to Carbon Express before I retired, they sent me a bunch of arrows. So I have some nanos, right? Whatever the super small ones are for the recurve stuff. So I've got a bunch of those with all the different points that they make. So I'll be playing around with that type of stuff to see what I think about them. But, you know, I've also got some X10s and things like that. So I'd be interested to know too, because after working with Heather and tuning her bow, does everybody find that the arrow charts are off by one spine? Meaning when you select an arrow for a recurve, say if it recommends a 900 spine and the next stiffest spine would be 800, that with Barebow and string walking, you need to go to 800 instead of 900. Do you find that to be common? Because we found that to be happening with her setup. They just acted a little weaker than we expected. And, you know, after I started that beginner arrow series, some people were saying, hey, don't forget with Barebow, you need to go up one spine because the charts aren't quite right due to crawling. Thank you, Bradley. Yes, on stiffer spine, I see. Well, beginner mistake, I suppose. So this is always the most painful and horrible process. I'm cutting off a perfectly good center serving could have lasted 7, 8 more months or longer, and I got to redo it. This is horrible. Such a shame. Spent all that time, and now I got to redo it. Yeah, right. So everybody seems to be agreeing that the arrow spines as well. Lano, the top hat points are excellent. And bonus, the guy that is the rep for the company, Blackie, is a really cool guy, genuine archery enthusiast, and an overall just a great person to be around. So, any company that has great people working for them or that are great companies and treat their employees like companies get massive bonus points in my world. And, it's a big part of the reason why I love Blackie at Top Hat. And I'll always recommend those points to everybody. The quality is super good. And it's also why I'm also a diehard fan of AAE. The company's a genuine family-owned, family-run, and they really treat all their employees like, they're truly family. And, I'm always for any sort of company that does anything like that. But yeah, Blackie at Top Hat is a nice guy. Super nice guy. Yeah, I see that for sure there, Leon. Bradley, no, I don't have any double twisting, and I don't really see any issues. I mean, I just don't have a little jig to do serving. Yes, ideally, I would love to reserve my string under much more tension than my bow exerts on it. The reason I would do that is because if you stretch the string more than your bow ever will and you serve it nice and tight, when you take it off the stretcher, it will relax and crush all of the serving together, more so than it ever will be stretched on your actual bow. So absolutely, that is the way you should be doing it. But I don't have that type of rig. And for that reason, I never build my strings anymore. Once I started shooting professionally built bowstrings, I told myself, and I meant it, I would never build my own strings ever again, because honestly, I did such a poor job compared to the professionals. So yes, it is extremely tough to tie strings with Maverick around there, Matt, because I don't know what it is, if it's the string wax or what. Like, he's also just a weird cat. He likes to lick stuff like zippers. He has like a weird affection for zippers, and he likes to lick bowstrings and servings. So I never keep my equipment in the house because I don't want cat spit and also other cat parts on my face. So yeah, I don't want any of that stuff anywhere near me. But I think he's taking a nap somewhere, luckily. Yeah, I like to do it right here at brace height. It seems to be fine. You can do it a little shorter, do it a little longer, whatever. I don't bother. If you take the twists out and you tighten it back up, it depends on what direction your string has the twist, and it also depends on which direction you are serving your string. Because if you are serving it in a different direction than your string is twisted, and then you twist the string, it's going to then loosen the center serving. So it has to be critically done in the correct manner if that's the route you're going to go. But again, because it's not to be honest, it's not super critical. At least for my purposes at the moment, I'm just honestly just having fun and really don't care at that point. I like having fun. This is more of an experience for me than it is for a living. My performance has nothing to do with my livelihood anymore. So I get to just enjoy what I'm doing. And I think that's the best thing about doing this type of content. I don't have to I don't have to satisfy anybody other than you guys. I really don't. And it is satisfying to me to help people. So I'm genuinely enjoying doing this type of stuff, and I don't have to win in order to put food on the table, and I don't have to win in order to, maintain status. As long as I'm making you guys happy and bringing you guys as much value as I possibly can and enhancing your archery experience, then I'm doing my job. If I make archery more accessible, easier, and more enjoyable to more people, I'm doing my job. So it has nothing to do with my performance. So I'm honestly just happy to just slap on some random serving, add some strands if I have to, and make it work. I honestly don't care because it's not super important to me. Is it better? Yes. But it's so much better to just have professionally built strings anyway. And I've bought them since I've retired anyway, because they are that much better. So. Excuse me. So Matt's got a question. He's waiting on his Satori, which is a trad bow from Hoyt, I believe. And he's debating going off the shelf versus using a plunger. I don't know. It's up to you. Do you want stuff that's more bulletproof and on the edge of more traditional, even though you have a modern riser and limb? Or are you wanting to have more ability to tune and really dial in the setup without having to do things in a more traditional way? If you're up for the grind and the play of playing with traditional stuff, go for it. I would encourage shooting off the shelf. But if you're wanting to potentially have a bit easier experience setting up stuff and a bit more forgiveness, then the plunger is the way to go. Personally, for me, if I was going to grab a Satori and rock that stuff, I'd be shooting off the shelf. That's what I would do. And I would love to get my hands on one. Excellent, Leon. I'm glad to hear that. How's it going, James? Welcome back again. Glad you made it. Got an opinion on a carbon or aluminum riser for Barebow? Honestly, I'd love that Meta DX on a Barebow. It felt so good. Super dead in the hand, and I would love to cut out the vibration. I suspect that it will not be legal with the dampeners. Toward the metal piece says harmonic stable, whereas the one that's mounted in the sight window says harmonic dampener. So I suspect, because the rules specifically say a stabilizer cannot be mounted on the bow and it cannot have a piece of rubber as a dampening device specifically for that reason. So I would imagine, and I'm hoping, that they make the ruling that the end ones are not okay, but the center one is, and then you can take that center one and then get two more and put them in the ends. That's what I would really like to have in my hands. But I would also prefer a 27-inch riser over 25. That's a fact for sure. Haven't played with the extra long limbs, although I have a set of the Hoyt extra long sitting around. I'm going to be playing with those here soon. So I'm excited about that. So Juan, the direction of string twist corresponding to handedness, I've not found that to be necessary, in my opinion. There is probably some sort of system to that, yes, but then there is also a system to how these strands, meaning each individual strand, is wrapped on the spool for each individual strand. So each string strand has 4 parts to it, and those are then twisted together. And then you must twist, according to some string manufacturers, not BCY, but string company manufacturers. You must then rotate and twist the string the same direction to coincide with the individual strand twists to tighten them. But my argument is, well, you take your string material and you wrap it in an infinite loop, right? And so the strand that runs this direction, when you twist it this way, might be correct. But when it runs back this way, that twist this way untwists that string. So I don't find that to be important. I do find the direction that you serve the strings to be critical. And as long as you're serving at relatively the same brace height that you shoot at, and your string doesn't stretch a whole lot, then you shouldn't have an issue. If you untwist or twist your string a lot from the point of where you've actually served everything, then I would say the direction of the twist is probably relative and important. Let's see here. Nock height depends on arrow point weight. Yep, I would agree there, Argpod. Yeah, -8 degrees Celsius. That's some cold weather there, Staglight. Your limbs will be just fine. The Dutch team did some testing with limbs. They threw them in a cryo chamber and then shot limbs at like -280 degrees, and they were just fine. Do I have any recommendations for a long riser, 27-inch, if not longer, that is not top of the line? Honestly, I'm not sure of any riser that is 27 inches that isn't top of the line off the top of my head. Find yourself a used one. If you can find the GMX Unicorn 27 that may be still out there every so often, get yourself one of them. My deeper crawls, how much do I prefer the center serving to extend? I'm not sure, but what I can tell you is the serving that I served on this is, let's see, about 9 inches long. So it's a little long. I could probably get away with 8.5, 8 inches now that my crawl isn't so deep because of the sniper rest. Also, by the way, thank you to the members of this channel that are here, like Ryan and somebody else was up there a little higher. They've got the little green marks near their name with the little targets. Every little bit of support helps this channel and allows me to produce more free content and spend more time like this with you guys. Have I considered a 29? Yeah, I have. I would like to play with one. I know Gilo makes one. I'd like to get my hands on one and try that someday for sure. I'm going to unstring the bow because I'm going to run my serving through the center of the string. I always do this. I actually got to wind the server first. -20 Celsius. Holy cow, Carlos. Where are you? It was misty all day today here in Florida. It wasn't very warm, but it was still like 68 degrees or so Fahrenheit. So I have no complaints. I shouldn't be complaining, that's for sure. Staglight. So the new serving rule in Barebow says the string can't end within your sight. So what happens when you crawl really deep? Do you need a center serving that extends like halfway up the string? Oh, wow. Northern Sweden. Yeah, that's why it's so cold there. Lano, no, it doesn't matter what direction you twist your string or which side you twist your string from. When you add twists to the top, you're adding the same twist from the bottom. It's all the same. There's really no difference there at all. Yeah, the cold weather like that, I'd be shooting a carbon riser all day long in cold weather like that. It wouldn't feel so cold. So Juan, what should be a priority when working on the physical side of archery, flexibility or strength? Ooh, that's a interesting question. I would say flexibility in muscles is important, but joint mobility is really important. Working on joint mobility would probably be the most important thing to really pay attention to. I wish there was more studies in the sport of archery in regards to what happens to the body when the shock loads of dealing with, the forces of the bow during the release phase and the shock forces on the shoulder joint, because I've actually had a lot of issues in my right shoulder and specifically within the shoulder capsule. So the capsule is a very unique structure, and it's essentially like a suction cup kind of for the shoulder joint, the head of the humerus. And you can have, there's at least four spots within the capsule, and my posterior and I don't know, the one on top always gets tight, and then it drives my shoulder joint forward within the space. And then I always have to set my shoulder back in place for it to actually feel right, because it tightens up and it drives my shoulder forward, and it starts to get actually very uncomfortable and painful at times. So I would say joint mobility would be really, really important, in my opinion. Lano, I will let you guys know what I think about the 27 Hoyt Exceed. It's on its way. So I'll do a review on that specifically. I get to play with that, luckily, and I'm excited. So for those that don't know, what I'm doing is I'm passing the serving through the center of the string so I can start it a little bit easier and more accurate and not fight it the whole time. Corn, to shoot longer distances, how do you compensate? Basically just lift your arm up. There's very little pelvic tilt at that level. Once you start getting into field archery and you're shooting extremes up and downhill, then yes, I would say pelvic tilt is important. Yeah, definitely, Carlos. Training the serratus really will help with impingement. Same thing with subscap. Strengthen that like crazy, and that'll help too. Any stabilizer will help a lot. What's my criteria to set nock height? Wherever the bear shafts are landing, adjust the nocking point to make the bear shafts land at the same height that the fletch shafts are landing. Oh, cool. I'm glad people are getting some cool bows coming in. Maybe my Exceed will come in soon then too, so I can play with that. So right now I am serving with 18 thousandths power grip because I've been struggling a little bit with the halo being a little bit too slick, and I find that my crawl ends up changing slightly throughout the day, and I really don't want that to happen. So I'm just gonna serve a little bit with one strand down and see if I need to make any adjustments to the size, because I don't remember what size serving was on this, so I've got to run it through again, grab my arrow and clip it on and see if it's tight. Thank you, Hemat. Yeah, awesome, good, Juan. I'm glad that finding the light at the end of the tunnel on that one. All right, so it's a little tight, so I am gonna take out the one strand and serve some and see if that makes the nock fit right. ArgPod, no, I don't. I don't count the serving. I just use the marks on the tab. Yeah, so is there a max how high it can be, or do you have to have it low on barebow for string crawling? Because I didn't see anything specifically there other than you just can't use it as an aiming device on the rules. So Bradley, if I had impingement issues at the moment, the exercises I would do, I would be strengthening my serratus and subscap, and then I would also strengthen my back muscles, like rhomboids and stuff like that for eyes, Y's, T's, and W's, stretching my pec minor. That's what I would do. Thanks, Corn. I think I might have said that already. Take care, Leon. So now this is without one strand. That's much better. So I get to just do that. Awesome. So can anybody clarify on the rule for center servings with barebow? Do just not have to be within vision, so you can't use it as an aiming device? Is there a minimum or a maximum measurement from the nocking point up or down? I just want to make sure it's set right on both my bow and my wife's bow, so when we show up at the tournament, it's not a big deal. Yeah, Mark, join the club. I'm, 32 and feeling lots of clicking and creaking. I need to do a video, and I will be here at some point talking about supplements in the sport of archery, and the ones that I've used and still use over the past and continue to use now, actually, and how it helps me with inflammation and stuff like that, and how much of a game changer it's been for me. So the serving cannot extend above the eye, or it must extend above the eye, Roy? And so I would assume it must, if it's, okay, yeah. So if the serving extends above the eye, I would assume it must extend above the eye when you are at a point on distance then, because that would be the lowest point it would be. So it would have to go above your eye. Is that true? Okay, so it can't be used as a rear sight. So just far, Matt, would that be far enough above the eye just so nobody can see it? All right. Well, hopefully I don't have, maybe I'll just add a little bit to the top. I don't want to have to take it off. So what is worse for everybody? Serving, tying nocking points, or fletching arrows? Okay, cool, Roy. Thanks for clarification. I'll have to worry about that, work on that. Octavio, there's really not a ton of rules as far as that's concerned. There is just, there are limitations, right? Recurve and compound both have rules as well. And in fact, they probably have more rules than recurve does. But, barebow is just like, it's a whole other animal, and I'm just not familiar with it. Like, for example, fiber optics length on a compound is limited to, I think it's like 2.5 centimeters or 3 centimeters, but a recurve, maybe that's recurve, but compound, there's no limit. It's weird. They have random rules like that. All right, so Ryan has a quote from the rule. The serving on the string shall not end within the athlete's vision at full draw. The bowstring shall not in any way assist aiming through the use of a peephole marking or any other means. All right, so it's got to extend above my eye while at point on. That means 3 fingers touching the bottom of the arrow. Yeah, I agree, Brian. The biter winder, which I'm using right now, is the only way to go. Does all the biter winders come with these larger things? I've had mine for years and years, and somebody gave it to me. I think back in the day, the biters had just standard little thumb wheels, and then people started making these heavier weights so that swings around the string. I just haven't bought one in years, so I'm wondering if they're still there. Fallen Angel, I prefer cordovan leather over any other type of tab. Hair is very slick and it works really, really well. The durability isn't very high as far as that's concerned. And then standard leather just doesn't hold up like cordovan leather does. And cordovan leather does have direction to the grain. So you got to get your tab from a reputable manufacturer that actually orients the grain in the correct direction. It's kind of next level stuff. I can tell you for a fact, anything that AAE makes that is cordovan leather is actually is oriented for grain optimization, whereas many other companies won't do that because there is a lot more waste in the actual material because you have to place all the tabs one way. You can't nest them for optimization of material when you're cutting them. Yeah, I mean, a 68-inch bow at 5.7 is a pretty good size. Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. As long as your draw length isn't like 29 inches, yeah, I think you're good. Okay, cool, Bradley. Yeah. Yeah, Brian, I've seen those too. That's kind of neat. I'm kind of jealous of some of the professional string builders. They've designed some of these that they attach to a power drill, and they just pull the trigger and the thing just winds the serving in no time flat. Like they can serve a whole center serving in like 15 seconds with some of their stuff. It's ridiculous. So I'm just back serving now. This power grip's going to be 10,000 times better than Halo for string walking. Can't wait to put it on. Well, I can't wait to show Heather how to serve so she can put it on her own bow. We'll do a video on that one so she gets to ask questions and be better for this beginner type content that I'm trying to put out more. Has anybody liked those and watched that stuff yet? Watched my interaction with Heather on how to do more beginner related things and appreciated her questions? I'm hoping that it's made a difference and helped people. Yeah, Octavio, kangaroo is. I have one of the fair weather tabs I've been meaning to play with, and it's interesting. There's no grain to it, no directional grain, and that's part of the reason they like the kangaroo leather. I believe it's also naturally weather resistant. At least it used to be when they first came out with that stuff. And I would like to play with it some, but I know for a fact that the cordovan, when the grain is oriented correctly, that your bow speeds actually go up quite a bit, arrow speeds go up quite a bit compared to regular leather. So I would suspect that it's probably similar to the actual kangaroo leather. I'm not sure. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys like the info like that when Heather's in the video. They're asking questions. Yeah, Roy, I'd like to play with that. Whatever it is, send it my way. I should have a PO box in the description below. You can send something to. I'd like to play with that stuff. I've played with many different things over the past. Honestly, the best thing that I ever found that was amazing and got me 12 feet per second faster with tuning the bow correctly was it was like Teflon sheeting. It was like a hybrid between Teflon and foam, and I got it in these little thin sheets. The only problem with it was that it was not durable enough and it would tear eventually. So it kind of sucked. I've also played with Teflon impregnated food conveyor belt, which, would run over, a conveyor belt, but it's for food application and the Teflon is non-stick. That stuff worked pretty cool too, but it was a little too thick and it wasn't flexible enough. And I actually lost some of the feeling in my fingers because it was so thick, or at least it wasn't actually thick, but it was so stiff that I had a little bit of issue there. Yeah, Brian, we definitely never read from any scripts of any of these videos. I don't do at all. In the beginning, I was trying to do that type of stuff, and I found it to be cumbersome, and it took a lot longer to run through the videos and get the content up and done. So, everything pretty much off the cuff other than the title of the video. Heather's texting me. Excellent. I'm great. You got it beat, Roy, there? I'd like to play with it. That would be great. And yes, we are going to see Heather Fletch. You didn't miss a step. We just jumped ahead with that last video of the two of us shooting together. The actual video of the fletching will come out. Luckily, I saved it. I thought I deleted the film on that stuff, but I found it luckily. So that won't be lost, luckily. And that'll be coming out soon. I need to edit that. I actually just edited the how to tune video. So that I was unable to get it uploaded today because of my internet connection was slower than molasses in January. So that is going to go out, and then I'll do the fletching video edit next and get that up. I also have, what else did I do? Oh, today I did some barebow shooting. That'll go up. And then I did a discussion to the camera on shot cycle as well. So people can work on that too. Excellent, Charles. I'm glad that you like this format better than Zoom. This is easy. I don't have to do any setup for that. And everybody gets notified when it's good to go. Hement, I don't have a routine at all. I just kind of do what I need to do. I work a lot. As far as when I was shooting and things like that, and shooting professionally, pretty much shooting whenever I could. It was regimented as far as how many arrows I would shoot, but I'd look at the weather and try to plan that around when the weather was nice and when it wasn't, to optimize that. Because Florida is interesting, you got to deal with daily thunderstorms and stuff like that. But other than that, as far as diet, high protein, low simple carb, lots of veggies. That's kind of what I stay with. And I also drink a ridiculous amount of water every day. I shoot a large Yost there, Roy. Kevin, I don't know enough about the super recurves. When they were first coming out, to be honest, I'm a little shy of them because when they were first coming out, they were the borders and they blew up left and right all around me. So I'm a little less, I'm less inclined to be excited about the super recurves because of them blowing up in the beginning days. Although the Ukas, because they're monolith, I'm more of a fan of that. I do have a set of their new fancy schmancy limbs on the way, thanks to Ryan. I get to play with those before I send them over to him. So that will be coming out whenever they arrive from not being back ordered anymore. The XX Plus or something like that, I think is the name of them. Bradley, that's not necessarily the case. It's really will depend on your conditioning as an individual. So I wouldn't say that, your back being tired is a negative thing. It could be just part of it. I get tired when I shoot. It's just something you deal with. So not everybody gets tired, and some people get more tired than others. So it's really hard to say. It's hard to say without knowing a whole lot more information and being able to share that with you. All right, so I'm going to mock up a finger on, or a point on draw, so I can see where my serving is. Holy cow, I got to extend my serving like 4 inches high. Is that real? So you like serve the whole string? Let's see, I got to tie on a little mark where my knock would be. Well, this is going to change my tune. I'm going to have to redo it now. Good to know, Matt. Yeah, the new Uka SX Plus, those are on the way, so I get to play with those. I'm excited about that. So I could potentially have the serving like end just above the knock, because the knock's never going to go above my eye. Maybe. I mean, honestly, within my vision, this looks ridiculous. I would have to serve my serving 7 inches above where my knock is. That can't be real. Like, I'd have to serve it this is my knocking point, and while I'm looking at full draw, I can see this far up my string with my point on. So I should, according to the rules, have to serve all the way up to here. Right? Weird. Lano, no, this is a 3D weight, or this weight I printed on my printer. I'm playing with some stuff. 3 to 4 inches, you think it's sufficient, Stag Light? Because, I mean, where am I at now? I'm 2 3/8 inches, so less than 2.5 inches right now. Ryan, are you saying that's really high, or are you saying I need to serve it really high? How's it going, Davo? Because, let's see. If I tie a little serving thread, I'm going to tie it 3.5 inches above my knocking point, just so I'm in the middle of the 3 to 4 inches you're saying. Okay, so serve roughly up to the eyebrow. So as long as you're not using where the serving ends as a peep for your arrow, is that correct? Because I could use it in theory to look up and put it on like my top limb on the W of Wiz, right? But that's not what. Okay, so just up above here, as long as it's up there, you're fine. Okay. Oh, it's hard to do this sitting. Interesting. Let's see, here's 4 inches above my knock. Okay, you guys can see that, yeah? Let's see if you can see it while I pull the bow back. Now I'm full barebow with a hat backwards. Oh wait, my anchor's up here. That would help, huh? So would that be legal? So that would be point on, and you see the string is above my eyebrow. Would that be legal? Okay. That's crazy. Look at these little things. We're all learning. Sorry, I bumped the microphone. Yeah, Bradley, I do need to do that. They're cumbersome to make, to be honest. But yes, I do need to do more archery workout, strength training routines, warm-up routines, things like that. Very important. Not enough people do warm-ups, and they are extremely important. All right, well, I got to add to my serving. I'm just going to... So if you need to do the same thing that I'm doing, just serve from the top of your existing serving up at far enough. I mean, they're not going to look close enough to see where the break is going to be there. As long as it's the same material, they can't tell. Oh, disappointing. Thought I was done serving. No. Just open what? A can of worms of screw it and make it two serving. I mean, whatever. Just make it, 30 different colors. And then you can have a peep for each string walking distance, each crawl. That sounds legal, right? So you're saying don't do that and make it one piece, but I'm not cutting the serving off. They can DQ me from states. Interesting. So you want to know like a weird pet, Roy, favorite colors? That's difficult. I don't really have favorite colors. It's much like I don't have a favorite food. I like earth tones. I like black is a great default. Although loud and really bright is also very nice too. Yeah, I don't really care. Yeah, somebody will call me on that. And I'll be fine with that because then I'll just reserve the string and beat them anyway, as far as I'm concerned. Because it's not an advantage. This whole serving thing, like, come on, really? It's a little ridiculous. Bradley, I'm not sure what constrictor knocks are. I'd have to check that. I agree on that note there, Blaine. Bending the rules does not mean you're breaking them. I mean, honestly, I've seen a lot more cheating happen, different types of cheating happen that are far more effective than having two pieces of center serving that are connected in the middle, and you can't see that at all. Oh, so I'd like to check those out, Bradley, but I've not heard of them. Pet peeve of mine, and something that I think is ridiculous and must change in the sport of archery if we are to get anywhere professional and serious. And if I had any sort of say in this, I would actually make this a requirement. All bows will be impounded after competition is completed, and then we will do our equipment checks. And if we're found that you have anything that is in violation of the rules, you get DQ'd. Why do we do equipment inspection the day before we shoot? Does that make sense? And then we don't check that at any point after then? That doesn't make sense, right? Like specifically for compound, I've heard of, rumors of people backing down their bow weight for equipment inspection and then jacking it back up when they go back to their hotel room. I just saying, I think it's a dumb way to approach things. Good. I'm glad somebody agrees. All right. Now the trick is going to be to back serve and end this serving exactly where the other one ends, so there is no gap. I'll just scrunch it down if I mess that up. World Archery will probably have a ruling on this in 3 days. Which one of you is going to blow me in? That's the question. Yeah, well, and I agree. But I mean, you win a championship or something like that. Like, why don't they do that? I don't know. Maverick's making an appearance. Oh, jeez. So multicolored serving is probably not legal, just like multicolored strings are not legal in Barebow, if I had to guess and be bold in making a judgment. Although, honestly, it's again one of those things. It's like, how do you know that what you're looking at is in the exact right place? Because stuff changes and brace heights change and all sorts of stuff do. So it's like, what do you do? I don't know. I don't think it's an advantage. Bradley, the cat's name is Maverick. Mavrick. Maverick. He is a very loud, attention-hungry individual. Mav's actually not very fat. He's just got a little bit of a flab down there. Yeah, he will. Well, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate that. I'm glad somebody's blowing me into World Archery. I'm sitting here twirling my mustache and trying to come up with ways to scheme the system. I think I have one too many twists here. I'm going to do my best to bury it. Awesome. Yeah, they're not going to catch me now. Now it just looks like my center serving separated. And I'll say, no, that's supposed to be that way. Hey, I don't want to cut your face. Come on. All right, now I'm going to burn you. Come on. Hold on. You come back to visit in a moment. Yeah, I got really deep crawls. Whatever. Don't judge me. I'm an amateur. I don't know what I'm doing. Clearly, I had to extend my center serving. Come on. Look, can't even tell. Well, I mean, you can't see anyway. I've got some innovation I'm working on, James, within the Barebow world that I think will be legal, and I think it'll work really well. I can't wait. There are sandbagging moments that go on, Brian. For the point of seeding, especially during ranking rounds, it happens. I think part of that is it's ill-advised, but it is also, it's part of the game. It's part of the way the game works. If you can play it right and do well with it, and it's not like completely blatant, I don't know. I don't see the problem necessarily. Personally, it's just part of the game. Excuse me. Bradley, as far as veins that I like right now, I am running wave material cut in the AAE Pro Max shape, a little higher and shorter than normal, but they are very light and thin. I didn't fletch. Heather fletched up her arrows with the AAE trad veins, which is the wave material cut in their regular EP shape. We got the short ones, the 3-inch ones, and they're on our indoor arrows, and they are working really, really well. If you don't want to use feathers, I would definitely grab those trad veins. If you're looking for veins that are a little longer than your standard compound shape for outdoors, those trad veins are super nice. I wouldn't put them on my X10s and shoot 70, but I'm working on them to come out with the AAE high profile version, which would be the Pro Max shape. I think they're a little bit more forgiving, especially for lower bow speeds and lighter draw weights. Excuse me. I agree, Charles. There's like no rules in the ASA as far as barebow goes, other than what you can do. You can't let down, I think. Could be wrong. What? All right, so I'm served up. I suppose now I should tie on a knocking point. John, the difference between vanes and feathers is pretty simple. Vanes, great multi-purpose all-weather vane, but they are heavier than feathers. Feathers are a bit more forgiving and also do not get damaged as easily. Also, you get away with a lot less clearance issues. Like if your vanes are hitting the shelf, the feathers just fold out of the way. Although the downfall of the feathers is that when they get wet, they get super heavy and your scores go way down. So just shooting Heather a message here while she's away. Like, stay in touch. Sorry, I appreciate your patience with that. I'm not trying to ignore you guys. I agree, Bradley. Field archery is my favorite game. I'm very excited to shoot that, and probably from now until the end of time, I'll be shooting states and playing with that. Maybe one day I'll go try out for world fields and shoot it as a barebow shooter someday. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I agree, Ryan. The trad vanes from AAE are awesome. XS vanes are fine. They didn't shoot as well for me. I did a lot of testing with vanes, and honestly, I couldn't beat the AAE waves. I also was using an expensive fletching jig and could put them on with a lot of helical. The XS wings, they didn't group as well. Brady's vanes shot and grouped really well, but the wave vanes just shot better and drifted far less in the wind, which I also thought was an advantage too. As far as forgiveness, I don't know. I didn't see an issue with the waves, although the waves that are cut out of the Pro Max shape that I'm using now definitely are more forgiving than the regular waves and don't drift much more, in my opinion. Yes, Cameron, I did actually shoot 3D or ASA with a Olympic recurve. I shot 3D in unknown pro K40 or known pro K40 here, or not pro, known amateur K40 distance and Newberry when it was here one year. I shot it, I think, in 2013 or 2014. And it was hilarious because on the practice ranges, people are looking at me like I had leprosy. And I'm like pounding groups at 40 yards. And they're all like, man, well, this is weird. You're pretty good with that thing. I told them who I was. And they're like, oh, okay. And then I shot known pro or known 40, whatever. I don't know why I keep saying known pro. That wasn't a thing then. But K40. And I was third after the first day. And they couldn't believe it. I was only a couple points out of the lead. And I actually had food poisoning that night and didn't make it the next day, unfortunately. It was not good. Not good. I would have loved to finish that out because I would have finished in the money against compound shooters shooting a recurve. I thought it was fun. And I shot X10s. Everybody shot like triple X's, which is those huge 27 size arrows. It was great. Matt, no, I haven't really actually experimented enough with it to actually tell you. Lately, I've been focused on just 18 meters because we got states coming up and it's, just a set distance out there. So I haven't really necessarily seen a change in the crawl depth to affect the grip sear, although I bet you it probably does because obviously it changes the grip angle quite a bit. Take care, Argpod. As far as Stefan, as far as the different length risers and limb combination in general, short limbs and long risers, I felt really stable at full draw, really snappy on release, but a little bit dead in the hand because of the longer riser. But I liked the feel of them, and in engineering purposes, I thought it would be more consistent when the weather changed. Although I've heard really good things about a shorter riser and extra long limbs, like people have played with a 23-inch riser with the extra long limbs that are out there now, and that would get you a 71-inch bow, and people said it is amazing. So I bet you some top bow manufacturers will come out with a better 23-inch riser because of that. Yeah, definitely, Matt. I'd love to talk about that some more once I get playing around with it. Today I was struggling. My fingernail's a little bit too long, and I didn't have a file in my quiver as Joel recommended, and I should have had one by now, but I don't. And also the grip edge, I need to work it and play with it and make it a little bit more friendly. I liked what you were saying about, playing with rounding the grip edge instead of a sharp edge. But do you find that your nail will like move past the rounded edge, or is it not like a radius? It's just not a razor edge. It's just rounded at the end. I don't know. Cameron, now that I'm shooting more, I could shoot my full rig and be fine with it now. It was just genuinely, I hadn't shot in months, if not years, and shooting 46 pounds out of a recurve was a little bit much to manage. But now I'm good to go. I should be fine. I mean, I'll shake after a little while, but you shoot one arrow every 15 minutes, it seems, in ASA. So, Bradley, I really like to use the Last Chance Archery Veinmaster Pro. That's my favorite arrow rest, although the boning tower is quite nice too. Yeah, the push. I mean, Matt, I'd love to have like a pink nail file. I think that'd be hilarious. So I just whip that out of my quiver. Nathan, never tried those arrows. I have nothing to say of them. I wish I knew. Maybe one day. All right. So is the general consensus no gap on the knocking points like I do on my Olympic style recurve, even though there's a crawling time frame, crawling down the string? What do you think? Giovanni, I've had injuries on my shoulder, many different ones, mostly mild injuries or overuse injuries. And it took me, kind of years actually to get over the overuse injuries, the tendonitis, tendinosis type stuff, and bursitis. Something that's plagued me, but I couldn't get rid of it and couldn't stop shooting to let it cure either. My livelihood was on the line at that point. So. But if I would have stopped shooting, 30 to 60 days would be fine. Interesting, Matt. Do you feel your nail like sliding down that grip edge, or do you just cut it loose on the first movement it makes? Because if it's such a large radius, like where is the edge? You know what I mean? Maybe I'll need a picture and that'll make more sense. All right, so for the next few minutes and moments, I need to look at what I'm doing. So I'm sorry if I miss stuff. That's 2, 3. Okay, cool. Sorry, I know this isn't very exciting, not listening to me talking. I'm counting how many times I'm serving, and I can't talk and count at the same time. When I'm back serving, I can. Charles, I was having the same problem today. Totally screwed up my crawl, screwed up my tune and everything. I think that because of the way the string angle and then the knock interferes, it actually pushes that knocking point down the string. I actually saw that all day today. It was very frustrating, and that's why I'm tying on permanent knocking points now. Let's see. I'm going to check out this rip edge here. Interesting. So do you feel it sliding on the tab or on the grip there, Matt? Because it just seems like I can show the camera. Cool. Let's see if I can get the glare to go away. So you can see the grip is relatively rounded. Right? James, I'm just enjoying shooting arrows. I actually just shot my first 30 arrows for actual score today in my backyard. So I've enjoyed it. You can see the whiteness marks. Let's see. Yep, I can see that. Huh. Interesting. The knock does, yeah. The knock wears out the serving after some while, and eventually you have to replace it. It's just one of those things there, Stefan. Now I'm just scrunching up my knocking point a little bit because I always over tie them and then push them back so then they got a nice seat to sit against. Interesting. So I'll play with that grip edge being a little more rounded for sure. Because I definitely have to push a fair amount of pressure. And if my nail is a little bit too long, it requires a lot more pressure. And then I start feeling the nail bending and giving. And then I get a little jumpy on it because it's like feeling a ding on your point when you're pulling through a regular clicker. It really affects you. Hey, Annabelle. So I'm glad I got my questions answered today, asking about barebow weights and the knocking point split. And I learned something about needing a super long serving. That's interesting to know, Matt. I'm glad. I will use that. I will play with that and see what happens. Good thing I've detailed a car or two and I've got some 3000 sandpaper laying around. We'll make that real smooth. Bust out the wool buffer and some rubbing compound and take it to the next level. Cameron, when I was cadet age, so cadet back in my day was 14 to 16. And the scores I was shooting in a 60 arrow round, I don't remember. I won the America's indoor tournament one year, which is when they combine every indoor nationals. They combine scores with all the countries in the Americas, and then they'll do like an award for all of them. I don't remember what I shot. Honestly, I'd have to really go back and dig to find that. But I know my personal best at a tournament on a 30 arrow round was a 296 when I was like 14 or 15. I think I was shooting somewhere in the neighborhood of, upper 570s to low 580s, if I had to guess at that point. So corn, it just happens. Your serving will wear over time. It's just one of those things. It's a wear item and needs to be replaced from time to time. Bradley, honestly, it's a little tough as far as high stress, not to over aim. Really focusing on where the pressure is going helps a whole lot, and not paying attention to so much of the actual sight picture is very, very, very important. That's a really good tip that I can offer you there. Other than that, it's like, you just got to know that the arrow is going to go there and hope that it's going to go there without really being too stressed about it. That'll help for sure. I tied the nocking point a little bit too low, so I'm trying to really force it up so I don't have to redo it. The power grip doesn't let the nocking point slip as much as the halo does. Something interesting there. Power grip's tough stuff. What serving are people using for crawling? I know somebody said that power grip's pretty popular for this, for Barebow. I found that the halo is too slick and my tab wants to move. My wife says the same. It's great for a clean release. John, I think at any point, any person can jump into a competition because, it's a learning experience. And as long as the archer approaches it as that, a learning experience, I don't think any time is too early. As long as, they're not turning their bow sideways and hitting people next to them on the line. It's pretty good shooting there, Cameron. Honestly, I don't know. You can go back in the archives of the results and kind of see what people have shot over the years. And that can give you a good idea. A person to note that I was always battling first and second with, and sometimes third, was me and Dan Schuler. He actually works for Lancaster Archery Supply now, or Lancaster, if you're from up that way. And then also, I think it was Jason Burkett was another one. So I got to tell you that reserving and tying nocking points on is a far better and more enjoyable experience when you get to, exchange back and forth with people, as opposed to, listening to a podcast or something while you're tying nocking points. It's fun and all, but this is better. So I appreciate everybody tuning in and spending time. It's probably not the most exciting thing in the world, but I think it's great. Ryan, I don't know. I was sworn to secrecy when I was explained it, and I don't really want to, go against that. But I'm not competing anymore, so I don't think it really matters. I can tell you for sure that the FIDA rule book, the World Archery rule book, tells you how to do it. We're verbatim, but you need to take out a tape measure and measure the targets, and it'll tell you the exact secret. It's interesting. So maybe one day. Yeah, it's I don't know. Don't know if I'd want to share that because I want to do well in Barebow, and I don't need to shoot those shotgun sounding bows to pick up my speed to fix my misjudging of the targets or misranging, because I'll know how far the target is. And like when you know the system, to be honest, plus or minus a meter, that's how good you can get. The exception is when you're out past 48 meters and you're heading towards that 55 range, it gets a little tough because especially with recurve, we don't have a clarifier, so it's hard to decipher where on the target your pin exactly lays. Yeah, Bradley, that's highly illegal for them to do. You can't do this to range the target. You must appear as if you are shooting when you are ranging. It literally says that in the rule book. It's hilarious. I'm glad to hear, Cameron. That's excellent. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot to it. It's simple when you know it. And the person that swore me to secrecy isn't competing anymore either. So I wouldn't imagine that it's, you know, it would be against the rules of swearing to secrecy. Sorry, hold on. I'll be back in a second. Yeah, that's a good idea, Ryan. I mean, honestly, it doesn't necessarily tell you exactly, but it really, really, really gets you very, very close. And it's comical because they say don't range, but this is how you can do it. I don't understand the logic in that, but it's fun. That's my favorite game. Field archery. If the Olympics were at field archery, I'd probably still be shooting competitively. Loved it. So I'm almost done here. Luckily. Hopefully I didn't tie it too far up so I can push it down enough. We'll find out. I'm using Soma Nox now because the gold tips kept cracking going on the pins. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I'm not, they're a lot taller. So. Yeah, that's absolutely true there, Bradley. There's no arrow shortages in the sport of archery, unlike ammunition at the moment. Can't get that anywhere. At least for a good price. I think it might be in business. All right, I got a teeny tiny gap. We're going to call that close enough for Barebow. What do you say? So, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, so you can see where it ends up there. That little extension, that should be legal, right? Looks like I know what I'm doing. Yeah, so Abelix, yes, I've been there. I've done that with him. There has been many events, especially in the United States, and a few at Worlds where they've been outside of the limits. And I saw many people and heard of many people during events where you're like, okay, so you look at like what is it? The 40, there's a 20, 40, and 60. The 60, it's been a while, but the 60, I believe, is anywhere from 25 meters to 40 meters unknown, I believe. No, 35. 25 to 35 is the unknown distance for the 60 centimeter face. And I ranged them, and it was 38 meters. And the rules are the targets will be maximum and minimum distances plus or minus 1 meter. And the same thing for when they mark the target and they say, okay, this is the marked distance of it, but it is plus or minus 1 meter, right? And I ranged it for 38 meters. And even though I knew it was a 35 meter max, I trusted my ranging system more than I trusted the judges to certify the field. And 90% of the field, pretty much everybody except me and Brady, all shot that target for the maximum range of 35 meters, and everybody shot a 3 low on their first arrow, maximum out of 6 points. So a 3 is like halfway down the target face. And I had 3 6s, I believe, on that target face. And everybody was up in arms and upset. And it was like, well, I mean, you know, you guys don't know how to range. And people did well that knew how to range. And he complained. And, you know, they said, well, you're not supposed to be range finding. How did you know it was too far? And of course, they don't throw that out or anything like that. But I've seen that happen several times. It's really not cool, but it happens. And I've seen and heard about some known distances also being off. And sometimes they look off, and I'll range them just to verify. And sometimes I need to make adjustments. My favorite venue for a field competition was Val d'Isère, France, up in the French Alps. Incredible. Walking through glacial runoff and shooting really steep angles and everything. It was an incredibly beautiful place to shoot. Bradley, I always look at all the surroundings that I have, all the trees that I can, the grass, the socks on the field, the flags down behind the targets, the flags behind the canopies, all that stuff is reference, and using shooting in practice as a kind of a gauge to read how the wind is going to be, and then making my adjustments during the practice day, because that's my primary focus on the practice day, is get a reading on the field, and then doing that. Yeah, no kidding, Blaine. Isn't that ridiculous? 2 boxes of that. 5.56 is the same as a dozen X10s. It's almost right as far as prices go now. Let's see. Kuno, I would assume that bow is probably designed for shooting off the shelf, and so the center shot is not adjustable. I'd be worried about taking a file to any bow because I know the amount of stresses that are exerted on it, so I'd be careful there. Well, I'm all done here. So if anybody's got any last minute questions, it seems to be winding down before I cut the feed off. Feel free to shoot them. I'll stick here as long as there is questions to be asked. I'd be happy to field any questions of my experience with Barebow, things I'm learning, struggling with, things, suggestions and thoughts and whatever. I'm happy to do that and help talk about that so you can hear what I'm working on. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to post those in. There's always a delay in the chat for some reason. Probably my lovely phone connection that I'm working with here. Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thank you for hanging out with me as well. Try to keep it light and easy and, really relatable, because nothing like this existed when I was coming up, and I sure wish it did, although I'm not sure if I would have paid attention to it. I had a funny experience. I go to my first senior outdoor tournament. I'm shooting on the same bail as Vic Wonderly at the Gold Cup. And I didn't know who he was. And he's like, hey, you're going to be pretty good someday. I was like, yeah, whatever. I didn't know it was Vic Wonderly. It was funny. So I probably wouldn't have paid attention if something like this was going on. But I'm glad I can be that person, because I know there's a lot of people out there looking for knowledge, and people are hungry, especially with COVID locked up and everything. I'm happy to be here and hopefully somewhat of an outlet for some people. Take care, James. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate that. Excellent. That's cool. Thanks, Stefan. Octavio, yes, I do have a video on stabilizer setup. It's within my tuning series. I'll pull it up for you really quick, and I'll share the link here so you can check out the the stabilizer video. I probably need to revisit that and talk about some more of that information, because it's a little complicated and it does take a little bit of process to get it all set up. That's the link there for the stabilizer setup. It's super valuable though, and it makes a big difference as well. Sean, yes, you can. You know, you can go with the rest. You can go off the shelf. It really depends. You know, if you want to stay more traditional, more simple, potentially more rugged, go shooting off the shelf with their little shelf plate. If you want a little bit more tunability and the ability to shoot maybe different arrows, or, you know, have a bit of more forgiveness in the system, then I'd shoot a plunger and a rest. Personally, when I get a trad bow, I'll probably do it a bit more on the traditional side off the shelf. You know, I think that'd be a bit more fun for myself personally. But I know it's kind of like a run what you brung, and, you know, people will rip on you either way type of discipline, because they're diehard one-piece wooden recurve onlys, and then there's the modernized takedowns, ILFs, and then there's you know, people who shoot off the shelf and people who shoot plungers. There's all sorts of different stuff. Thanks, Cameron. I appreciate it. Stay tuned. I'll hopefully keep helping you guys. Lano, I haven't honestly played with it enough. I got to make a 5-pound weight to start to begin with. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I got to get that stuff done so I can get all the stuff back out to Ryan that he sent me. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do tomorrow. Get a 5-pound weight made and start measuring stuff. But I'm not, but somebody is very close to playing with a draw force curve set up for me, and I'm really excited about that. Super nice way to do it, so I can show the how and how I'm measuring, and hopefully it'll be impressive to people. I'm excited. Sean, that's a little difficult to say. Drawing here, it's a little higher, and it just, you got to weigh it, you cock it, you got to have the hat up. That's part of the reason why I like my anchor back here, is because I can shoot a hat on normally and actually use it to block the sun and things like that. I've seen people cut the brim off a little shorter, cut a V notch in your hat, and actually like put a, you know, cut a notch in your hat. I've seen people do that, stuff like that. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Fabian and Octavio. Yeah, definitely, Ryan. The feather rests are nice, or the old bear hair rests. They're like little hairs that stick out. Those work really well too. Andrew, yeah, I'll work on more workout videos. You know, I try to just produce stuff that people are asking for sure, and that's going to really kind of hit it off and make things better for people. But eventually, yeah. I've seen some people shoot Flemish twist strings, especially indoors on a recurve. Hang on, I got to text my wife really quick. Sorry. Thanks, Sean. Take care. Yes, Cameron, I actually have a Formula XI in my building, but I don't have the limbs for them. Waiting for those. The Formula limbs are coming. I have the 27-inch Exceed. I might have the 25-inch Exceed coming too. I have, actually, yes, I think I have the 25-inch Exceed already. No, wait. I have their ILF limbs, whatever their fancy ones are, the newest ones. Are those X-Tours? I don't know. I need to pay more attention. I have the extra long and long limbs here, but not the Formula one, so I can't shoot the Formula XI yet. But lots of that stuff is waiting to be played and tested with, and will be very shortly. Yeah, Flemish Twist are great strings. Yeah, the Velos. That's it, not the X-Tours. Those are a couple years old. My bad. Bradley, I don't know. Well, I'll ask my wife. She actually has double vision and she shoots with both eyes open. I'll ask her. I'll see what she can give us as far as information on how she deals with the with double vision. You know, like where you literally see two things of everything. It's crazy. I can't believe she deals with that. Yeah, the Velos, not the Carbon Integras. Yep. Anyway, seems like the majority of the questions have popped in here at the end, and I've answered them. So I appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out, and I'm glad I got my serving done semi-legally and knocking points done. So hopefully I can go out there and shoot a little bit better than a 260 out of 300 at 20 yards. Yeah, just not there yet. You know, 260, that's good, but I know I can do a lot better. I kept hitting high because my lower knocking point kept scooting down, and we'll fix that. So anyway, thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody that supports the channel through Patreon or memberships on this channel. Even just sharing these videos, commenting on the videos makes a massive help too. It gets in front of more people. Like I said, sharing helps, grabbing some of the merchandise that's available, all that stuff. It really genuinely helps the channel. And if you have anything cool you want me to test and play with, there is a P.O. box in the description below too. I've got some things that I need to play with. Some people have sent me, and I finally have enough of equipment to play with to get some more information out there for some people that have sent me some stuff. So thank you again to everybody for sticking through this tonight as well, and the questions as well as the support and the feedback. So take care, and I hope everybody stays safe and has a good rest of the night or day, depending on where you're from. Take care.